several members of our crew either work remote or have family that they need to stay in relatively constant contact with. So we've had the Starlink Actuated for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. It's been a real game changer for us. The Starlink isn't only for work and obligations. It also allows us to have lots of fun out in the wilderness. Everyone particularly appreciates it on game days and for movie nights. Prior to that, we were stuck using cellular, so all of our camping trips, we'd overlay the cellular maps from the different providers. We all have different providers, and so we'd overlay the tower maps and choose our campsites and where we could go based on where we could get cellular signal. But the Starlinks really opened up a whole new world for us. The biggest challenge with the Starlink is tree cover. The Starlink signal will not go through leaves, so woods, forests are still a challenge with the Starlink. You have to find holes in the canopy. The Starlink satellites actually move across the sky, so if you have even a partial obstruction, it can cause drops in your signal if the satellite goes, behind that obstruction. So it's a challenge trying to find the right opening and being able to position the Starlink in a place that it can actually, access the best opening in the canopy and get, power to it, things like that. So there's limited by wires to some extent, but it's been great. It has what has enabled us to do what we do. So nothing but love to the Starlink. So recently, AG wanted to be able to increase her independent mobility. She wanted to invest in her own Starlink. Our Actuated is a Gen 2. This was a year ago when we were shopping, and the Gen 3 had just come out, the Gen 3 Standard and the Gen 3 Mini. We couldn't really decide which one we needed, so we bought both, did some comparisons. So let me go show y'all the unboxing and the comparison of the Gen 3 Mini versus the Gen 3 Standard, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you which one we chose and give you a review of 1 year on the trail with the new Starlink. Today we're going to do an unboxing for both a Starlink Mini and a Gen 3 Standard and do some side-by-side comparisons and try and understand which one it is that actually meets our needs. And hopefully you can decide which one meets your needs. Probably the biggest obvious thing looking at them is the size. This Mini feels very mini, weighs 6 pounds. The Standard feels very heavy in comparison. It only weighs 15 pounds, which on paper seems really light. But somehow picking it up, it feels really heavy. We also have a lot of experience. A buddy of ours has a Standard Actuated. So we're not new to Starlink. Have spent about 2 years working with a Standard Actuated. Very familiar with that unit. The box for it, if you can imagine, more like this box, but rectangular. 24 by 14 by 11. We keep it in the box that it came in. So it's a pretty decent sized box to be carrying around. So even the new Standard is significantly, very significantly smaller form factor than the Standard Actuated. They all have different radios. The Mini is a dual band 3x3 MU MIMO. The Actuated is a dual band 3x3 MIMO. And the Standard is a tri-band 4x4 MU MIMO. Mini power draw is listed as 25 to 40 watts. The Actuated power draw is listed as 50 to 75 watts. And the Standard power draw is listed as 75 to 100 watts. So if you're really power conscious, you might lean towards the Mini. So again, it's a pro-con. There's no obvious answer here. So you really have to balance the connectivity, the power that they're going to draw against your whatever are your needs. One of the things that we discovered in our research is that Starlink recommends that if you're planning to do, say, remote office, which is our use case, we like to go camping in the woods. We have corporate jobs where we need to be on video calls and have connectivity throughout the day. And Starlink does recommend the Standard for that purpose. The Standard has a bigger antenna array, as you might expect. Now, let's open these things up and actually compare the hardware. Ooh. So with the Standard Actuated that we use, we actually packed it back up in the box that it came in. So this is really handy that you have instructions and you have a really nice box. Now this Mini, the router is actually part of the dish. Big difference between the Mini and the standard. It appears that the cabling for the Mini is actually quite a bit smaller, indicative of, I would say, the smaller, less power draw. This is a pole mount, which some of you may or may not use, and AC/DC adapter. So this Mini is quite a bit simpler. It's really nice though. I mean, oh my dear Lord, compared to our standard actuated, this is just tiny, really mini in comparison. Let's set this aside. Let's open up this big unit and see what it looks like. Wow, that is a huge antenna. Dish antenna? What do we call this? Receiver? Huge. This is, all right, so this is quite a lot, significantly larger than the actuated. I think it is. It seems like it is. Oh, let me double check the specs. Okay, so this is 23 by 15. The standard actuated is 20 by 12. So the standard actuated is actually going to be a smaller dish. One interesting thing to note, very similar to the standard actuated. This is how the instructions are in the standard actuated. Part of the packing materials. This is interesting. So this is roughly the same size as the older router with the standard actuated. The older router is more of a shape kind of like this. It's more of a stand up and down shape, whereas this one, I think they want you to lay it flat, more like that. But roughly takes up the same amount of volume, I guess I would say. This cabling is quite a bit more compact than the older generation cabling. Thinner, lighter. That's nice. What is this? Is this a separate, is this a power supply? Power supply. The standard actuated, the older model, the power supply is integrated into the router. So in the older standard actuated models, you have a big dish on a stand, and then you have the router with the power supply built in. So with this new standard model, we have a separate power supply. And it's so strange because this box, to me, this box with the new Gen 3 standard felt a lot heavier than the standard actuated. But as I'm opening it up, the cabling is lighter. Probably the power supply plus the router is probably about the same weight. The dish itself, larger, heavier. Let's see, what's the comparison? What does they say? They don't say. FYI, Starlink, people may be cross-shopping some of these different components. It would be lovely if you would put on the website and compare the different models. I know they have a specifications page, but it's obviously not helpful enough. That's why we ordered both of these units, because we really felt that we needed to see them side by side to really understand the difference. So with this standard here, wow, all right, here it is, guys. Teeny tiny. There's the Mini and the standard. I mean, just this, that is really a world of difference, especially with the reduced componentry. Again, so here's a side-by-side. The reduced componentry of the Mini. The Mini is just a dish, your cable, and a power adapter. Oh my gosh, so light, so compact, so simple. The standard is going to be a much more powerful dish, right? This has got a stronger radio. This uses more power, but it also has multiple components that weigh more, more cables that you have to plug together. I feel like the standard should be called the Pro. Okay, we got the Pro with all the extra, and then you've got the Mini that's really just for simplicity for us. I guess in our experience with the prior generation actuated model, it's great. I would say 95% of the time. It's amazing. If you needed to be on a Zoom call, at some point it's going to drop out. If it's an hour-long meeting, expect that during that meeting, you're going to lose signal. That's just our experience with it. So I would approximate that the Mini would probably give you that same sort of effect. I would hope that this new standard model with the upgraded radio might possibly get closer towards 100% coverage. And so for us, that's actually still a tough decision to make. I love this Mini. I can stick this Mini in my freaking back pocket. I watched a video with a guy that powered it off a little handheld power bank, right, in his backpack. That's really what the Mini's made for, is for getting online in the wild, which is probably, about the use case of our previous actuated standard. We'll have to test it out and find out. Stay tuned. All right, so we did a comparison of the total box size. We want to do a dish size comparison because the Mini is just so ridiculously mini. I mean, it is so light comparison. I would really compare the Starlink Mini to a MacBook Air. It is just so light, so compact. It is really the size of a small laptop. And it's obviously built to fit into a backpack. It is just a fraction of the size of the standard. Whereas the new standard model is really the Pro. I mean, this is going to be the latest, the newest. This is the Pro model. If you want the best that Starlink has to offer, then the Pro is what you're going to want to be going for. Obviously, if you want compact and lightweight, then this Mini is really an amazing piece of technology that they've taken the box. The standard actuated box it's just huge, and it's now in this size, whereas the standard it's a larger dish than the previous standard actuated, but it's more powerful. So it's the new Pro model. We got a Starlink Pro, Starlink Air. That should sum up if you whichever one you need. Our observed bandwidth from spending some time with all three of them. The Mini gets somewhere around 130 megabits down. The actuated gets somewhere around 150 megabits down. And the standard gets somewhere around 240 megabits down. And the standard is maybe double the bandwidth of the Mini. So ultimately, the deciding factor for us was AG's needs and what she could pack in the GX. So we chose the Mini. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's been right up here all the time, this whole time. It doesn't even take up that much room on the sunroof. Got this case from a company called Newer. The same kind of tripod I use. I've used some of their other equipment. It's been really good stuff. It's got a nice little carry handle. The suction cups have, let's call that lock on them. So it does stay. You have to put a good amount of force to get it to stick on the sunroof, but once it's up there, it stays really well. And, nice rubber case for it. AG likes everything to be extra cute. So this is actually the case that we store the Mini and all its accessories in. It's just a laptop case, but it works great. This is where it stays when we're on the trail. This is trail mode right here. On the move, when it's not oriented in the direction that it wants to be to best catch the satellites, the signal is very sporadic, but it's fine for us on the trail. I mean, we can share it amongst the rigs, and everybody can at least get text messages and emails and be able to stay connected when we need to be connected out on the trail. So it's been great for that, and we also obviously, post it up at camp when we're at camp. It draws the least power, which is also very important for us, particularly AG and I both run air conditioners. There is a note on their website which honestly threw us off. The way they describe it on their website is that the Mini is compact in size, portable, and recommended for basic internet applications, whereas the standard is recommended for high demand everyday internet application. And when AG's working remote, sometimes that can be video calls or presentations that require significant bandwidth. What we found was that really the 130 megs down that the Mini does, it's roughly equivalent to like a 5G, really. So the Mini gives us enough bandwidth. It's all about the signal through the trees, through obstructions, which is any Starlink, all the Starlinks struggle with. So one complaint I have about the Mini, which I don't think it's just the Mini, this is a lot of Starlinks in this generation, is the boot's not big enough on the power plug here. I can't get my fingers in there, and I end up having to pull on the cord in order to get the power plug out, which is obviously not good for your plug. But it would have been great if they'd just put a little bit bigger boot on it, flexible, a little bit longer boot, just to make the cord last longer. I have, this cord hasn't failed. I'll let y'all know if it fails. It probably won't for a while. It's Starlink stuff is pretty decently well made, but could be better. The Mini had the compact size. It has enough bandwidth. It uses the least power, and you wouldn't be able to do this with the standard. So just this additional functionality of how we've been able to use it and where we've been able to use it has made the Mini the clear winner for us, and we love it. It's been great.